once they get everything, unless John pulls some magic. He's got good connections there. So that's good. So if you're a little bit familiar with it, are there places, I mean, I know we're probably recording this call for anybody who has no familiarity with it, but are there things that we might take a look at that any challenges that you've run into or questions that you've got that might give us a starting point?
I don't have any questions, but I mean, actually maybe over like issues that you had in the beginning with it.
Oh my goodness, how long do we have? I'm kidding. Yeah, that's well, and I started on a different system, so we all when we shifted over to this, we all thought it was terrible, just like everything that is new. it gets changed, but as we finally just dug in and got into what Canopy offers, it's pretty amazing. There's so many resources here that can be utilized. Probably searching was the most complicated because there were just some specific nuances for how to do that. I will show you though, for the sake of when we log in. So sorry, I really want to get all these going so that we can focus. I've pulled up the wrong screen here. So let me show you the dashboard, because a lot of times they actually just revamped this, but there's a lot. They made it, I think they tried to make it a little bit more eye friendly, but this is kind of an interesting place and we skip by it a lot. The home screen pops up, it's a little more text heavy, and then this has all these different icons, but this is a really cool place once you get your access to go and just kind of tool around on it and see what's there that might be useful. So this is just on the Canopy dashboard. I really was going to go ahead and really wanted to log in, but I don't think it'll let me do it. I think it knows I'm in there now. So hang tight. So when we first come in, there's usually some specific pieces. That's this page right here. This is where I wanted to show, because we zip right past this. We log in and all the market activity and some of the statistics based on MLS is going to be right on that first page. And so I think a lot of times we tend to not notice all the tabs up top. So for anybody who's just coming onto it, it's worth a look around for sure. So this would be our home screen. So one of the things I love about the home screen is you can truly customize this to however you want to see things. So I can take and drag any of these boxes if I want to change the view. So that's kind of neat. You can just make it your own. And so actually, I don't recall if I've saved some different views on this. So you may look over your mom's shoulder and then start yours, and it may look a little bit different. And that may be because she's made some customization adjustments to it, but it's pretty great that you can make it yours. So I'll just point out a couple things on this front page. The Market Watch is really useful. And I actually have this one customized for a search that I like to keep track of. Basically, it's the 5 surrounding counties, I believe is what I've got logged in. But this way, when I come into MLS, I can just pull it up and say, hey, within the last 24 hours, what's actually come on the market. So it's a really quick overview of what's happened. In MLS, you can use, in this particular one, you can use your back button. In some of the trainings, they may tell you not to do it, but so far I haven't had any issues with doing that. So if you want to get back to any screen, you can either click on the tabs up top, or back button works pretty well. So if I said, I wonder how the last week has gone, I can actually come down here and change this. Get my my spotlight here so that you can see easier where we are. So I keep mine based on 24 hours, but I can go back as far as 7 days. And this is so valuable when you're talking with clients, because at a glance, you can kind of be super knowledgeable. You can see that, oh, in the last week, 116 came on the market. And then we had, and I don't ever do the math, that looks like easy math, maybe 204 that went under contract. So again, you can really throw out some stats there pretty quickly by just coming to the home screen and kind of getting in the habit of watching it. Did you go on the Ruiz report deep dive earlier today? You may not have known that it was happening. The Ruiz report is really specific to our market. Sometimes, it is always based on particular counties. And that's a drilled down report that can be really useful. And it's made up of compiling a lot of this information. But I can tell if something's come back on the market. Sometimes this is a great tool. If you've got somebody you just can't find the property out there, this is a fun one to come in and look at and just see what's come back on the market. So I would say that market watch is something really to, at least in the beginning, to pay some good attention to, because it can really help you. Now you can, I talked about that I had customized it. When you first sign on, you'll see hundreds of properties, because this will cover all the way down to where you are right now in Charlotte and beyond. So the way that you would be able to customize this is obviously where it says customize, and it'll pull up just a search window. I won't go into this too much because I'm going to show you kind of how search really works. But I only have a little bit of criteria that's narrowing down my search, and it's really just the counties that I want. So down under county, I actually do have to add these from kind of a pick list, if you will. So if I wanted Alamance County, I don't, but if I did, I would choose that, add it over to the list. You can see right here that I've actually got 6 counties in there. So when I do my market watch, that's what I'm looking at, are those 6 counties. Any questions about that quick market watch? I know there will be once you start to move around with it. Uh-oh, I may have lost Ethan again. Is it a connectivity thing? I'll try. I'll keep going just in case that we're recording, and that way we won't.
We're recording.
We won't put you on the spot, then, Ethan. There'll be others watching. All right, so good. A couple of other things that I'll point out, and sometimes I go back and forth between this screen and the search, would be anybody that I have set up on an automated search, and maybe I want to see those listings before they get sent to them. So I have a list over here under concierge that I can keep watch on of, hey, some of my people have 17 listings that I might need to review before I send. The news and alerts is pretty good. These will always pop up when you sign on anyway. You can either choose to read them currently or save them for later. They usually pop up right when you're trying to find some information. So you'll find that you save them often, but do make sure and go back and read them, because sometimes you'll get some alerts from Canopy. It could be safety alerts. It could be, I think today's, this was from the Canopy president, where he's telling us to don't forget to wear our masks and keep our best practices up. So these are really good to keep an eye on just for current news. The other thing that is a complete favorite for me on the home screen, or this my matrix screen, is this property search area. It's so funny, I keep using this address. I don't know why. This must be something here. But I can search this particular property, any of the criteria, I'm going to hit it this way just so that I can show you. Oh, this one doesn't have multiples. I was hoping when I search from the home screen here and I search just a particular property address, I can never think of a property that I can in the moment. Let's look at, let me pull up 67 Regent. Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say 34 East Owl Creek. That's that's one we just got under contract.
Congratulations. Say it again, 34 what?
East Owl Creek Road or Lane. Okay. It's in Cliff.
Okay, so you'll notice right here, I'm not going to plug in all those detail words. We'll see what that pulls up because that actually could pull up some. So what I love is you've by just searching from this area is that you've pulled up any other time that this was listed or sold. So if you're going to list a property, this is one of my favorite ways to just see what the past activity has been. Now this obviously would only be if it's been previously listed in MLS that it'll show up. But I love this from a background search. I can see, I can go to one of these and I can see, oh, look, it was withdrawn. It was listed at $8.99. I can scroll down and see how many days or when it was listed, when it was taken off the market. So that's the main reason that I show you how to search from that home screen, because otherwise it can be tricky to pull up all the previous listings and kind of see them in a single line display like this. So anyway, that we'll get back around to this, but you can also, since we're here and this is a property that you're familiar with, you can see where it previously closed. Great as a lot. Okay. Kind of gives you some history. Again, from a research standpoint, this is phenomenal because you can go back and you might pick up some little detail that you weren't aware of, or something that was a factor in the past. Okay, once they finally built the house. So you can see what it closed for. Are you pretty familiar when you see a listing like this of all the details that are part of a listing sheet?
Yeah.
You've gotten to know that a little bit. So yeah, we can see when it went under contract. We can see when it closed. Once it's closed, you can tell which agents were parties to that. You can always see the listing agent, but eventually once it closes, you'll see the selling agent. You can see any interesting pieces of where there's some seller contributions. How long was it on the market? So if you're actually going to list a property, this is such a good step one to just kind of wrap your head around where this property's been. So that's a good one. I'll hang on. I'm going to jot that so I can. So I actually don't need to do that. Let me show you another quick trick. Old school me was saying I'll jot down this address so that if we have to go back to it, we won't forget it. But let's say that yes, you've moved on, you've gone back, and you said, wow, what was that property that I just was looking at? Over on the right hand side is a tab for recent searches. This is another great thing. And maybe you were looking at something yesterday. This will hold, I believe it's 50 previous searches. So that's fantastic. I can go back and say, oh yeah, yesterday I was looking at, this particular, the way I've done this right now, you probably wouldn't see a whole lot out of that. Let's see. I'm not sure when I was searching that, but just know that you can always go back and see what you were previously searching for. So that's really good. All right. I'm going to go back and change my 7-day to 24 hours because sometimes I think the market blew up overnight if I don't go in and change that. I will tell you also that in this market watch, as I was mentioning, there is today is an option. Be cautious of that because that if someone actually entered, and a lot of agents who've been around for a while used to wait wait till late in the night to submit their listings so that they would show up at the top of the list. That's kind of our old system that had some bearing on that. But if you do today, it's literally going to use, only today's date. But if you are at 24 hours, obviously you'll get that time period. The other thing that I can do, and I don't think that I have any, I don't do this a lot for lots or commercial, but you could actually set some parameters. So if land is something that you're working around, you could set up some customized search parameters there. All right. Any questions on this home screen? I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory. All these tiles, they're just a little bit to look around on. That'll make more sense when you've got it. I'll point out to you that on all the pages, there is this, what's called a speed bar up top. A lot of agents do utilize this. I don't find that I use it a whole lot unless I've got an MLS number. That looks like an MLS number. So it is. So I could just plug that right in up there if I had that kind of information, and that'll take me straight to it, just a quick and easy way. The other thing, the place that I do use this all the time would be to search for an agent. If I were searching, let's say I'm searching for myself, I think this doesn't come up very easily on here. It's going to ask me, are you talking about the first name is Maria or the last name is Maria? It'll pull up every name that's kind of close. If there were, like here's a Mariana. So if you kind of know some of the information, it's going to pull up everybody within our MLS system. Oh, good. I did show up right there. So if I were just trying to find a listing agent, or, maybe you drove by the property and you saw who listed it, and now you want to find that property, this might be something that you would use. The other thing, same thing if I plug in, I just know their last name. I would just select last name is Atkins. And it's going to pull up all the Atkins across the way. So that's pretty useful. Let's go over to search. Drag some of these bars out of the way. These bars are the worst because they're always they're always right where I want to be. All right. So you'll see under the search tab that you've got some different options here. Cross property is really going to pull all types of properties from lots land. You'll settle into your own way to search what seems to make sense. Don't worry, you can't break this. So the best thing in the world to do once you've got MLS access is to start clicking around. I will say that residential, once you get going, is probably one of the first places that you'll wind up. And it's going to pull up all these different criteria boxes so that you can narrow down the search. So once you've started, you'll see down here at the very bottom, this is an important part to know what properties you're pulling, so that as you make some selections on the search screen, currently 5,000 plus matches. I'm going to go ahead and hit results because I just want you to see how far the reach is. So if you look under the city line, you'll see that we're just literally, if you were just bored and wanted to see all the properties across the state, not across the entire state, but within our MLS system, you could sit here all day long and go through. So hopefully you won't be that bored. You'll be looking at your current market. But yes, without narrowing these parameters or setting some parameters, the results section is just huge. So the best thing that we can do is to start to narrow it down. Obviously, you probably don't want to see properties that are down in Huntersville. That may or may not be where you're looking, but you would tend to start out with your area. So if you had a buyer maybe who says, well, I'd like to be kind of near Asheville, you might be starting with a couple different counties. If they've said, well, I would be willing to go into a different county, I don't have to be in Buncombe. So that's one of my first places that I might go. We know that Buncombe is likely. And again, you'll always have to click that that pick list box for some of these. If you see an area that shows these sheet looking pieces of paper, that's going to show you that there's a list that you can pick from. So you would click on that, highlight Buncombe, add it to the selected list. I don't need to go in and out. If I said, well, maybe Fletcher would put us into Henderson County. So let's look over there as well. And actually, let's take the property that you had, this 34 East Owl Creek. Is it Creek? That's what I get for not typing the whole thing in.
It is.
It should. We'll see if we can get it to pull up in here. So this particular one, we know it's under contract. We saw that earlier. So I'm going to go ahead and select that in the status. We'll just see if we can't bring that up on a search. You can select any of these. If you're just looking for your buyer, you likely are going to be looking at active properties, probably not wanting right out of the gate to send them any under contract. But there again, sometimes you can find some jewels that are lurking, waiting to come back on the market in a heavy search that you're doing. But you can always select, deselect any of these. The more you select, the more results you're gonna turn up. Property category is pretty important, because if you are looking for a condo for somebody, you would have to select this. Otherwise, you're only getting single family residences that will pop up. Let's say then our buyer, now I've got a pretty wide swath here with Buncombe and Henderson. I'm not drilling down into any cities, but let's say that they are in, remind me what that contract price was. Was it right at $9.99?
Well, it was, I believe, my mom wrote up their contract.
Right, okay.
I believe, or actually, no, the other agent did. Oh, shoot. I think it was around $9.99.
I felt like I saw that. So I'll point this out to you. So let's say that we want to narrow this down by price. Because I've got this box checked with the extra zeros, that's everything we put in is gonna be in the thousands. They do that, I guess, just to make it simpler and not have to type so much. So instead of putting 850,000 in, I'm just putting 850. I'm going to put a dash in because I'd like to see the range. I'm just going to put 1,000. But really what I'm doing is saying 850,000 up to $1 million is what kind of range I'm looking at. If you ever wonder what they're asking you for, these question marks to the side of the box will actually give you some guidance. So that's pretty good. It's kind of telling us if you want exactly, $850,000, then type it that way. If you want properties that are above 850, you would add a plus sign, and that's going to give you every single property that's above. But if you want to stick within a particular range, you're just going to type that as a dash range. Let's see again, I've hidden my results. Oh, so I got 87 results that have come back from that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that bit of now I've got it under contracts and actives. So again, it just depends, and it'll depend on what your selections are. So that returned a lot of results. And let's say that I just kind of I know what I'm looking for, but maybe I want to display these a little bit differently. If I click on the address the word address, it's actually going to resort these. And you'll see that they got all out of order in terms of under contract versus active. But again, this is going to start to put them either into a little bit of alphabetical order there. Sometimes you'll see the number. If I want to sort them by the city, like I know what city that is, and I'm not sure I think it's an Asheville address though.
Fairview.
Is it Fairview? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if we kind of know that it's going to be over in that area. I jumped way too far. Down at the bottom, there are these pages that you can skip through. All right, we did it. Way to go, Ethan. We got this. Yeah, so as you're looking at the single line display, some of the important detail information, you'll find the MLS number is there, the status for it, the type of listing that it is, the type of structure. So again, all these are parameters that you could be putting in if your client says, oh, I really love a good 2-story house with a basement, then you could be only filtering for homes that are 2 stories and also have a basement. Now I will say this, you're always going to be bound by the agent's accuracy of input. So many times, this is probably the one category that we see where people call a 2-story home a 1.5, or maybe a 1.5. They call it a full 2-story. So you kind of have to be on the watch for that, because that can have some agent error. But then you've also got your list of bedrooms, baths, your price, your square footage, heated living area. So if you see any of these headings, just know this is something that you can actually filter and search for. Our subdivision and how long it has been there. Sometimes I will have moments, I do this a lot with acreage, where I say, I really kind of want to look at the city and the acreage all at the same time. This is what I'm really trying to filter down. So I want to see those right beside each other. So I can drag this to any of these boxes so that it's a view that I like. Now the catch is this will not stay. This won't be a sticky, in Command, we call it kind of a smart view, a view that you've come to really love, until you make an adjustment. So right in here, I believe, I haven't done this in a long time. All right, so if I wanted to set my current display, then that would save. Every time I come into Canopy and do my searches, I would see the search view that I've actually saved. The one thing that I'll show you too before I get off of this little rabbit trail I went down, but this is really important because you'll see the single line display a whole lot, and sometimes it feels like a lot of words on the page. And the sooner you get to the point that you can sort of make this work for you, the faster your progress will go with searching a lot of properties for a client. If you right click, sorry, it's a left click. If you left click, I always try to do right click. Left click over in any of the gray area. So in a column, you just don't want to type the actual heading for the column, but if you click that, it will pop up a box so that you could make some changes. I never even mess with any of this. I probably could make this really beautiful, change my MLS life by messing around with some of that. But what I do is I've known this so many times when I have somebody who's looking for, say, 5 acres. So I want to see, they want a home, but they really want 5 acres with it. And that can be so tricky to narrow down or to go through a list like this. So I am starting to then, in the search bar, I can start to type some options here. I think it's under, let me just get right off of that. Let's say that I want to see how long these properties have been on the market. Sorry, I skipped. I went crazy there because I I'm not sure what that's titled under. It would take me one hot minute to figure it out. But let's say that I want to know how long these properties have been on the market and I want to see them in a display. I can actually add a column for any of these details. I pulled in current days on market, and that's just one that I do often, so I know what that's called. I don't even think I typed that right. So there we go. Here's a mistake, and I want to get rid of that. Let's remove that column. So again, I had to kind of type in that or click in the gray area to get that to go away. Let's do that one more time. Down in the search. CDFN. All right. So I'm going to add that in, and now you can see that I've added that column. So I could sort again by clicking here, and I could say which houses sold super quickly or how, didn't stay on the market. And again, we've got a big search return here. So that's pretty interesting to know that you can customize it with all sorts of different directions. Let me see if list. So easy when I'm not under pressure and there's nobody watching me do this, to think of what I might want to search. I don't have any closed properties, so that's not going to work. But I mean, if I literally wanted to say, well, which are the properties that this particular agent has, or who's the listing firm? Now, obviously, we show all the properties that fit our clients' needs. We wouldn't filter by firms or agents or anything like that. But you literally can make this list really work for you. All right, let me go back. So actually, I'll show you a couple things. There are some tabs up here. I don't need to do a back button if I want to change up my criteria. If I say, wow, this is way too many homes for me to look at, I can go to this criteria tab. It'll pull me back into the current search that all the parameters that I have set. It's not going to reset anything. So let's say I don't want to have any more of the active, under contract properties. I want to only see the active ones. And let's say that I only, 6,000 is too much house for me. Let's say that I've definitely got to have something less than 5,000 square feet. So I'm going to plug that into total heated living area there. And that changed my results. You can always tell what you've done, how you've affected, how you've affected your search by the number that's showing up down at the bottom. Let's say that I absolutely have to have 4 baths. Okay, so that's exactly 4 baths the way I put it. So these results should show that that's the only homes that have 4 baths and meet all those other. So if I look at full baths, there they are. So that's good. That's a good example of why ranges might be good. Let's say I'm going to do 3+. That shifted me back to 37 matches. So you can see how just kind of tweaking some of these details will make a difference. This is, again, if the search page is literally going to be something that you just kind of got to get in and start messing with. One of the things that people ask a lot is, what is this or not? When would I use that? Let's say, all right, so let's say I've got Buncombe and Henderson, and I really don't want to be in Asheville. I really want to be in Fairview. Now, I probably took your Fairview listing out. So when I took it with the under contract, let's see what will happen here. Please go away. I don't know why that type bar is still staying there. It's almost like my computer locked up there. All right, so I'm going to click on not. I want any property that is not in Asheville. I think I'll take this away. I don't want to be with an address that shows Asheville. So that was because I chose not. So if we look down here, that totally didn't work. There you go. There you have it today. Because this one is showing. So let me make sure that I didn't do something kind of crazy. All right, so this pulled out anything that was city of Asheville. So that is really, we stumbled right into a great find there. So if somebody doesn't want to be paying city taxes, we still could get them an Asheville address, but we could keep them out of city limits. So there you go. That's a good example of when you might use not. I know often when I am searching, I'm going to pull this down now to something that'll bring us a lot of properties. So I'm going to go back to 150 to 300. There should be just tons, shouldn't there? Because we all know that's an easy property to search for. Not really, but it did pop up that there's 129 there. I'm going to clear out the city, that city portion. My client is all about that price point, but they do not want to be in a manufactured home, let's say. So I want to exclude manufactured. So anytime that you've got some of these lists that where there's several options and there's kind of a scroll bar to go down, and you want to select, you can obviously tell it's selected when it turns that darker blue. But maybe I also don't want there to be an on-frame modular property that pops up. So I'll hold down the control key, and that gives me the ability to select multiples without selecting all of them. In this case too, I'll go in and say not. I probably should, I'm gonna narrow this just a little bit more, my price point. All right, so that got us down to 15 properties. Now, one thing, this is a pretty interesting one because you'll see that all these are 1-stories, seems to fit. I don't see any types that are manufactured homes. But let us just see, because sometimes an agent will actually call it a 1-story when it is a manufactured. So if you're setting up a search for your client and you know they don't want to see any manufactured homes, and I'm just pulling that out for no specific reason, then you would absolutely want to double check that an agent hasn't tagged these incorrectly. I think there could be some agents who try to slip through. This is just a 1-story and they don't list it as a manufactured. You can sometimes find it inside the listing. But so let me show you where you might do that. If obviously for most of us, we can look at a property and say, oh wait, that looks like a manufactured home. Right here at the top towards the top of the MLS sheet, you'll see the construction type. That's your site built. So if an agent has gone in and added construction type as manufactured, and it's completely possible that you might miss that. You might be sending them something. So the reason that I say that is if you are sending automatic emails to somebody who's giving you pretty particular criteria, my guess, like with the home that was under contract at East Owl, is there was probably some pretty particular criteria given. And with a client, especially in that price point, you might quickly offend them if you're just popping off listings that really don't fit the list that they've given you. So that's one of the reasons why it's so good to know how how to filter through this and make sure that you're sending only properties that really work out of MLS. Ethan, you got any questions up to this point? I've been droning on for a good solid hour.
No, honestly, I'm pretty familiar with MLS, with like adding it to, specific people, like their files, and then doing like smart routes and all that stuff. So I'm fairly familiar with it.
So this is boring you to tears. I know this. And you're such a gracious student today to be like, I got all this. What search is pretty easy for you? I mean, is there anything that has been, any challenges that you'd say you found that maybe somebody might run into?
No. I mean, to be honest, I haven't really been able to explore because I don't have access to it. So I've only done the property research, added to the files, and like search everything for those people and done smart routes. So that's like, but I haven't really spent like too much time going into like, other things. I've only really searched for like land and other residential properties.
Right. Absolutely. So, and this may be what you're talking about with, let's just go into one and see what we can find. So in terms of property research, I know yesterday on the forums class that I talked a little bit about where to find information if we were trying to research something. So, and I drew us back to the MLS sheet first to find some of this information. Again, you are a bit bound by how thorough the listing agent has been. Sometimes that's great. Sometimes we find they really cut some corners with it. If you're the listing agent, though, you would never cut corners. You would always add all the info that's possible. But in this case, like we can see, this is what they are claiming the zoning to be, the zoning code. We can see the tax value, the deed reference, how many acres are with this. And then also a lot description, which is going to be very subjective. This is up to the agent to pick these items. So as you're trying to research a property, I want to point you to a few places. One, we love looking at houses. It's what we do in real estate. So if I click that pulls up the entire gallery of pictures. And I can scroll through them. All right, and if I just kind of, there down at the bottom, there's a thumbnail view. So if I just kind of want to quickly get that overview, I have found that this, if you're ever on your phone trying to utilize like a full site MLS, this doesn't function very well. So just know that it can be quite frustrating to scroll through the pictures. But there is an MLS app. I think it's Go MLS that you can get, and that's probably a little more user friendly. So if you're ever on mobile trying to do this, it could be interesting. iPad, I think, is fine. You've probably done some of this through your iPad. But down below the pictures, you've got all these different icons. Some you'll use very regularly. When we talked about going on a listing appointment and trying to do some history, let's say that this property was previously listed. This clock down here, you can click on that, and that'll kind of give you a rundown of this particular property. Occasionally we'll find that a listing might not show. That's usually because an address was wrong or there was some kind of information that MLS is not seeing. This is the same property. But this is kind of this history portion, pretty good if you're tasked with trying to find out how long has it been on the market. Did they do some price reductions? Especially if you've got the buyer and your buyer's saying it looks like it's been on the market for way too long. What happened? In this case, you can kind of start to draw the picture of when it came on the market back in January. Wow, this one came on at $359. So interesting. It's now back on at $385. So you can kind of see like, wow, what's in the seller's head with this. You can see when it sold, when it went under contract, how many days in between those status changes. So
the
that's
people from the 34 East Owl Creek, they made some good money pretty fast.
Yeah.
Because they bought it, like, I think it was last February, or not this previous February, but the one before that.
Wow.
And then they just sold it for, like, they bought it, I think, for $849 or $848, and then sold it for almost $1 million. So
that's crazy, isn't it?
yeah, it went down to it was crazy, like, almost $1 million house, and the contract negotiations was based on a pool table, a $500 pool table at the end in the basement. Yeah.
That is something. Yeah, I'm going to go back to that one, and you'll see that I just threw up the recent searches. Oh wait, is this it?
Yeah.
I don't know why that picture looks completely different to what I thought it was.
That's going up the driveway.
Okay. All right. So yeah. So to your point, we'll pull up the history there, and this is kind of interesting. You can see that something's been going on since 2017 with this property. Ethan, which okay, this is not your listing. So
that's the old one.
Probably be real careful with anything that you say on here since you've got some kind of connection, any detail information. I was trying to see which side of this edit, since it is just under contract. So we won't give any details about the terms of the contract or anything like that. But yeah, you can kind of see what Ethan or what they were going through with the buyer in terms of doing the back research. Came on at $899 back in 17. And it came on this year, it came on at $1,000,099. They did do a decrease. They got really bold there after 7 days and dropped the price. So that's kind of interesting. So that history can be really, really interesting in trying just to get in the mind of either the seller or what's happened with the property. And sometimes you're able to help a buyer understand, well, the reason it appears that they've been on the market for so long is because they started out ridiculously overpriced. And now the house, everybody's saying, well, what's wrong with this house? There may be nothing wrong with the house. So anyway, that history part can be pretty important. In this case, they actually have some attachments here. Those were the sheets of paper icon. These would be really important pieces. This looks like a lot of detailed information about the HOA and any of the particular fees associated with that. But typically you'd be seeing your property disclosure. So if you were with a buyer, they're interested in this property and you're trying to get your documents ready to make an offer, your property disclosures hopefully will have been uploaded to the attachments. An interesting piece that I like to use on MLS a good bit is this TX button. This will take you to not our actual county tax records, but it is tax related information provided by the different tax authorities. But this is not to be confused with a property card or anything that you'll need for compliance down the line. But this is a pretty interesting tidbit of information here. You can usually find the owner name as it is in the tax record. Find a few things. Sometimes I'll grab a lot number. It could be showing here. Always interesting to just see what the current tax value is, what the previous, how that tax value has shifted over the years. And you can always, just a pretty quick statistic view of what are they paying in taxes? Has it changed over the long haul? But my absolute favorite, you can also see if there's some discrepancies. And this happens quite a lot where the tax office may have different square footage, different number of bedrooms, baths, anything like that. And sometimes that's because it's been finished after the fact. And that's a little bit of a flag for you. If you start to see that the tax records show something less than MLS shows, you might have to dig into whether or not there was a renovation done or some permitting that didn't happen. Not always, but it's just a good good red flag area. So sometimes you'll see this then on that property, realist property search. I love this, just like Zillow, you can get an estimated value, what we think the selling price ought to be. Could be right, could be wrong. So that like here they're saying, hey, the value should be in this range. Maybe they're right. They're saying they give some forecast deviation scores. I just think that's funny because Zillow has given such a bad name for all of that. Now, the other quite interesting thing, again, is any previous listing. Sometimes that can be a little bit interesting to see, but love that you can actually look at previous owners. This can be really helpful in doing some property research, tracing deeds back, or quickly finding old deeds. And then also really great is you can tell what the last mortgage amount is in most cases. Sometimes this information is not available, but in most cases you can tell, oh, this was a purchase, this was a refinance, this was in 2019. And if you know that in 2019 there was a mortgage for X amount of dollars, that probably is going to have some bearing on what they owe currently. Not always. I mean, we know that things could change. There could have been some huge payments made towards it. But from December of last year to December of this year, the odds of that going, dramatically down could be smaller, especially in some of our like main market price points, where you kind of feel like people have likely made their regular payment. That mortgage hasn't moved a whole lot. So if you wind up trying to structure an offer, and you're, as the buyer's agent, you're trying to figure out, how much money do they have to take out of the sale? This can be really helpful for you to know, hey, they don't owe, their last mortgage was not for that amount of money. Now, remember, this is never like absolute fact, because it's coming off of records, and there could be errors in it. But this is a really great sheet to pay attention to. You could do a whole training on Realist and the things that you can do with it. So if you get into this and you want to start messing around with it and say, hey, what are the comparables that they've found, or what's the neighborhood like? I'm going to hit this neighborhood profile because I think this will populate, I believe, for this neighborhood, because this is just an interesting snapshot. Now, we know that Command will give us a little bit of this as well. So depending on what you're utilizing, this is just where MLS gives you some tools where you can see some of the neighborhood statistics. Again, make yourself very educated about the area. They're obviously not showing us all those details, so I'll just scroll right down through that. But I mean, it literally down to the trades of the area. So you can size up some communities, or be able to send some of this information. You can print and email this. The neighbors, this is one of my favorite places to go, especially if I'm just creeping on the neighbors here. So what's going to happen is you've got the subject property, and all of a sudden you can begin to just in a line see your neighbors that are right next door, see what their values are, tax values. What's that, Ethan?
No, I said, wow, that's cool.
Yeah, it really is pretty neat. I mean, you can go to so many different depths when you start really researching a property. Anyway, I just encourage you to pay attention to Realist. That's one of the few that are actually offered there. But market trends, I actually think they've added a few things, and they've definitely made it look a little prettier. So data is where we're at anymore. So yeah, that's worth clicking around on. Really good when you're going into a listing appointment as well, and you're trying to be familiar with the area. All right. This video reel here would typically be a virtual tour. Clicked on that and it'll pull that up. And then obviously you could copy that link, send it on to your client. If you were wanting to schedule a showing for this particular property, there is a link there that'll take you straight to showing time. This one's under contract. It's still saying, do you really want to show this property? Showing time is, it's again, its own, we could do a pretty involved training on that one, on that tool, but it's very good. And you would typically schedule your showings from straight out of MLS. Ethan, this is so much pressure on you for questions, or there is a point where I'm like, I cannot stand to hear my voice any longer.
Man. No,
Anything you want to point out?
No, I tend to really not ask questions unless I really need to. I prefer to kind of like search things over first to try and familiarize it and troubleshoot by myself and then ask for help.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Some people, and you probably are. I'm much more of a hands-on learner. If I can get there and start to mess with it, I mean, nothing's daunting. Clearly, folks should just click around on it. You cannot break this. You really can't. If I just want to click on the agent, it can pop up. You'll see those clickable fields. But yeah, that's one of the best ways to learn, really, is to, and I know we're all just bound by, that's great. As soon as I get my MLS access, I'll
probably have
go to town on it.
I just haven't been able to play around, so I don't really have I haven't came across any things.
I know. That's totally good. And that's why I'm sorry. I'm putting the pressure on. I'm giving our brains a break for one minute, just chatting around. All right. So let's go, I'll go back to my matrix one more time and just kind of show you what these drop downs are. Because again, when you get access, you just kind of charge forward. It's in this the first couple months with it, this is when you'll discover amazing tools and probably be able to educate the rest of us. Because for me, I go do what I do on MLS. I really don't search around on this. And so if they add a new feature, it might be great, or I might have missed it for an entire year. Yeah. So I would always say, if you find something cool on there, share it around. You are more than welcome.
My mom initially showed me how to do like all the research and stuff for her. And then I started doing it. And then literally like 5 to 10 minutes into it, I found multiple steps that skipped a bunch of steps that she had put originally. Like she was like copying and pasting and doing all this stuff, and I was able to just like completely skip so many steps. So like I got her, like, and she's been an agent for like 6 or 7 years, and I was able in like 5 to 10 minutes to speed up her research time.
Absolutely. That's so cool. Well, that's what we say is, as new agents coming in, you'll find some new features or things that are helpful. So don't ever hesitate to share any cool tip you find. I'm always open to that. We get tunnel vision with this. I'm going to click, as a matter of fact, this is what you're making me do, because I'm like, well, wonder where that goes. Cause I never look at that. But you will see under my matrix, this is kind of where all of your particular details will live. If you have some saved searches. Let's do a real quick, for the sake of the crowd, Ethan, bear with me. And let's do a quick saved search so that we could send an auto email to a client. You can have somebody calls you up and says, yeah, I don't know when we're buying, but you know, these are our parameters, and just set me up. I'll look for some emails. And so you're thinking, man, I'm gonna have to work so hard every day to find every new property. Now you certainly can, and we don't want folks to just always set it and forget it, because that can be a little hands off as well. it'd be good to keep an eye on what you're sending to people, but there is an automated way to do this. Ethan, for fun, tell me who you are as a buyer and we'll find you some houses.
Okay.
What are you looking?
I'm
what are you looking for?
A 3-bedroom, not in the city, but I still want to be close to downtown.
Okay.
And I want a yard.
For my dog. All right. I did see your dog. Cute dog. New dog. What kind of dog is it?
He is a Labrador Retriever mix. So he's a mixture between a Labrador Retriever, a German Shepherd, and a Husky.
Oh, good gracious. How fun.
Yeah. So it's like his head is Labrador Retriever, his body is German Shepherd, and then his ears and his tail are Husky.
That's pretty fun. I know. I couldn't see a very good picture. I'm small talking while I'm looking for the type of lot that I want to send to Ethan. And so one thing that I'm hearing, which is not exactly what he said. So I'm going to plug in there that I would like a level lot for his dog. What price point do we need to be in?
Say since outside of Asheville, probably in the 5s.
Okay. All right. So let's say we're going to search 500 to 600. As we know, sometimes properties drop in price. I try to be with my clients to be really careful to let them know that I am searching for properties that are maybe a little bit above the amount that they gave me, so that we don't miss something that's really important, or we don't miss a property that might even be overpriced that they can get within the range. So it's a good idea as an agent to go a little bit beyond, and then to also clarify that with your clients so that they don't feel like you're just trying to oversell or below the budget. But it's really kind of an important thing. And sometimes you realize that for the perfect house, their budget really might be above what they told you. So I just like to clarify that piece.
And it helps them show, what the actual market is. Because if they just see houses in their market, they may think, oh, well, why am I spending $600,000 for my house? But if you show them, a 650, they're like, okay, yeah, that's why it's that much.
Right. I think on it's Property Brothers, I think, on some version of the 50 shows they do, they would always take somebody to, that had their total wish list, and they'll show them that property. And it was usually, 400,000 above what their actual budget for purchase was. And I love that thought process or that strategy. It's kind of interesting. Like, yeah, you can get this home. You can get everything you want. It's just in this price range. So that's a good point to truly be able to show what the market what the market is commanding at certain prices. Really,
because a lot of people expect, like to get everything they want for what they want to pay for, but no, especially not Nashville.
This is so true, and we hear that so often. Like, what? I've got $200,000, people. Okay, so out of the properties that I pulled up, now we may be way out of range here. Any of those places, Ethan, that you'd be like, I am not going there. That is not where I want to be. Just want to know, Alexander. No to Candler, he said. So if I knew that about Ethan, I would go ahead and this might be for an initial email that I would be sending to him. So let's just say that today he called in. I told him, I'll go ahead and send you some properties out. He knows he doesn't want to be in Candler. I'm not really setting him up on auto, but I just want to get some properties over to him. These properties that I checked, if I come down to the bottom, I think I made my screen bigger. If I come down to the bottom and hit refine, I can actually remove those from the list. and just get those gone. Now that didn't change my parameters. I would actually have to go back to the search parameters for automatic searches.
Or could you go up, so where results is, the three tabs right below the search bar, could you click on criteria right there?
Yeah, I could. Yeah. So this would be if I was just sending you a one and done email today. I
Okay.
just don't want those Candler properties to show. So that's one way to remove them. If I know that you don't want to be in Candler, I am not positive because, yeah, we could do it in tax location. Okay, so I pulled out, actually, this is probably the better place in city. So that I'm keeping that particular address out of the search. All right, so I'm adding that in as a not, like don't send any that are City of Asheville or Candler. All right, so good. So yeah, those were the two ways that you could actually make changes. And if we make them to the criteria, we're gonna make them for the rest of time. So any automated emails. So back in the search, let's say that, yes, I just want to send these to you. I can click that top checkbox, hit actions, send this email, or click email. And then I can begin to type. Now, I don't have Ethan in as a contact. I can't seem to get him to buy a house from me. But I could add him in by create a new contact. I won't do this so that you don't have to have your your inbox inundated with your house choices here. First name, last name, email address is required to be able to get this actually going. And then on salutation, you can actually change this so that it reads more like you might speak to your client. I'm a hi kind of person, so I change it always, like a stickler for that, because I would never say, hello, Ethan. Or I could fix one for myself. Yo, Ethan. I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it. I'm just kidding. And you shouldn't either. But just so that you know, you could literally talk the way you talk and the way you want to represent yourself with folks. I can copy myself on this. I think this is a pre-selected option, the blind copy. I think it will always say that unless you take it off. So that way you have a copy of what your client has gotten. We did switch over, or MLS did switch over to a new product called One Home. And so far I've learned that what my client sees and what I see are two different things. The properties are the same, but the view is completely different. I still only see the MLS view that I'm used to as an agent. And it's okay. I think some agents, that's a bit of an issue. So you might check in and just make sure that you're okay with what you're seeing. And I know the MLS, they like for us to feedback if we have suggestions for them. So in subject, this will be just like an email that I would be sending. Oh, I like that. I must have already said that before. Hi. I don't even need to say hi because there's actually a salutation that's in there. Let me know what you think. And in MLS, I actually have some profile setup that's already happened. So make sure that you are looking at your MLS profile. You'll see that I've got my information in here. If I needed to edit what's going to pop up as a signature, I can click that and be ready to do that. And then if I hit send, this is just going to send Ethan a one-time email. All right. So that's just to get the ball rolling. But let's say that ongoing, he says, yeah, just send me stuff as it comes comes on the market. So in this case, I've got all these. I like them. I like where I'm going with sending him properties. So in this case, I'll hit save. And this is going to give me a few options. I can either save this search so that it's kind of one of my favorite searches. If I'm doing this a lot, or if I have several clients maybe who are looking for similar properties, that can be a really easy way to not have to put all those parameters in over and over. And it also shows on your homepage so that you can, you just reference those quickly. To automatically send an email, I'm going to select new auto email. Again, I would either have to create a contact or select someone from my list. If you've got some, they'll, I mean, like you can literally have loads going there. You can create your own subject line. I would suggest, excuse me, that if you're creating an auto email, that you do something that's going to make sense. So to you, when you look at it, so it might be something like, Ethan's home picks or home possibilities, right? So because if you do a lot of auto emails, your subject line is going to get very generic, or it could be very generic if you just say homes you might like. And let's say that you actually want to go search some of those blind emails, those copied emails in your email program. That would actually help you because you are not sending emails. You're sending them out of MLS, not out of your, say, Gmail or your KW account. So just bear that in mind, that as you customize this, you want to make it easy for you to find what you're looking for. There is a canned message that's in here, but you could edit that. I've set up a personal website for you. That's the welcome email. So on the very first email that goes out, that's what they would see unless you change it. On the recurring, and I am so glad to see this. This is where I need to go in and somehow globally change this, because I don't like it. I already said I set up a personal website. Let's see. I've set up a search based on what you've told me. But you could customize this in any particular way. All right, down below is kind of the frequency, like how often is Ethan going to be bombarded with emails from me, or is he like, don't let me miss a property? So we can make some changes to this. We can schedule them. If he says, do not let me miss the property, and I think we're probably seeing this a lot more right now where we have people set up on an ASAP kind of setting. That means that as soon as something hits the market or a status changes, they could get an email. So that if you're in a particular, I mean, they're all kind of hot zones right now. So if you've got somebody who's really ready, that's probably the best way to set them up. But let's say that you just want them to get them somewhat frequently, not bombarded. So we'll let them come through on Monday, on Wednesday, and Friday. So you could actually change how often that's coming. And then the other thing is, let's say that I've got that Ethan is really particular and he's not going to trust me if I start sending him pictures that do not have or sending him listings that don't have a yard for the dog. I might want to really stay on top of this before I actually send. And so from that homepage I showed you where I had some concierge clients, if I click enable concierge mode, Matrix, it'll let me know that there's actually some listings for that particular client, and that I need to look at them before they ever get sent. The caution with that would be that you could likely lose some properties, because it's up to you and your time frame and your memory to go in and check, make sure you're not sitting on some properties for your client. So these days, that's a lot of pressure to go and know that they're not going to get listings unless you approve them. So you got to be committed to checking that. I'm going to go back and show you then where those are. These are old. I leave these mostly for this training. Actually, I don't have anybody on a true concierge. So don't be alarmed that I've got so many properties that haven't been sent. But this is going to show any properties that the system says these might actually fit. And if I decide that I want to go ahead and send those, I would check the ones that are appropriate. I'm not going to send these because these are real people. And then I would either reject those and send the rest, or I would approve the ones that I've selected. So that's how you can keep really great control over what your client is getting, the concierge mode. All right, so we talked about how to email. What else do we need to talk about here? There are some links to, I'll just go down the tabs list here. There are some links to the different areas. For the most part, I feel like Canopy's still a little heavy towards Charlotte. We did actually come in after they had already been servicing the Charlotte area. That was their main area. So I would love this. That I've just clicked on was the covenants and restrictions search. But you know, when you live in a town like Charlotte, I'm sure every little identical neighborhood has got a whole laundry list of them. So I just wanted to see what that piece was. To my knowledge, it's not going to connect us quite yet here, but it's good. It's good to be able to quickly search restrictions in a particular neighborhood. That's an important part. For us currently, we're having to go through the county sites, the deed sites. You got thoughts on that, Ethan?
No.
Oh, I thought you were coming in there for a commentary.
Just moving my pen.
Okay, so there were GIS sites there. So we talked yesterday about how to find those. I told you I Google them all the time, but if you are, if you like the shortcuts, then you can actually find them right through MLS. So wherever you want to go there. Okay. Pop that up. Have you been able to, sorry, do that every time. Have you been able to work around on any of the county sites at this point?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so this is it's a pretty sweet place to start. Again, just trying to find all the information. I say that over and over because if you can get that in your head, just go to GIS. It'll tell you plenty to get started with. So it's good to know that there's that whole list. And if you had a friend, I'm sure, Ethan, you've got people down in the Charlotte area that might say, yeah, I'd like to, I was thinking about this property. What a great resource that you could probably go, down around, I don't know which of these is which. I don't know whether there's a temporary Mecklenburg County. Do some searching there. You've got access on MLS, and quickly say, let me get you connected with an agent that can help you. So you've got a lot of referral potential just because you've got access to information. School systems, I always forget that this is here, but this is such a good resource to be able to immediately either send your clients, links for the systems that they'll be in. Sorry, I don't know why that. This is why I always have so many tabs open, because everything opens in a new tab. All right, finance. Let me show you this really quickly because this is kind of cool. If you are listing a property and your seller says, well, how much, okay, we got an offer for that. How much am I actually going to put in my pocket? You can create something like this. It's actually for a contact that you've got. You can start it from scratch. Ethan, I'm sorry, I'm picking right on you here.
You're good.
It won't save it. You won't get any solicitations from me to buy a house. Let's say that Ethan is selling his $850,000 house. Ethan owes $600 on it. I'm just going to fill out some of this little detail stuff here. Let's say he's going to pay $1,600. Whoops, sorry. That's not where I was trying to get that. So I'm plugging in a little bit of the details of how much it's going to cost him. let's see, he's at 6,000. Remember back in school too, when you had to prorate your taxes and figure this out, I do it backwards every single time. So matrix either, we're in gosh, we're in December now, but let's say that we're in November. I think that's backwards. I always have to do this twice. Nope, that's right. Okay, finally it's stuck in my head. So I put the months or the total number of taxes, total amount of taxes, and the total number of months till the end of the year.
Wouldn't it be one? Because
closing. Well, you're selling, so you owe the bulk of the year. This is why I always do it a little bit backwards. But yes, you're right. You're not gonna. I mean, you're gonna have a tax liability.
Right, because that wording is confusing. Because it says
it is so good. That's why I can't get it.
So you think, okay, if December's closing, that's the last month. So
yeah, I thank you. That's why I always hit a brick wall right here. Nice read there. I should tell them you've kept me in the dark for a few years here. But you're right. I don't even read that any longer. It should be from maybe beginning of the year would make that.
Yeah, from beginning of the year to closing.
Good tip. So if you guys are trying to figure this out, go the opposite way you think you should because of the wording there. I don't know who I would call to report that, but I should do it.
Didn't you say there was like a way to send them like suggestions or something?
Yes. Somewhere in MLS. There are email addresses very easily we can send. So yes, Command has a great way that we can send suggestions. MLS, they're a little slower than we are to pick up on that, but no, they certainly would I'm sure love to hear that. I don't know how long it would take them to fix it. But let's say that you are paying 10,000. I'm just trying to throw in a little bit of few numbers here so that you can see what a good tool this part is from MLS. So I plugged in things like their mortgage, their realtor fees that are going to be coming out, and we could put any number of items in here. Luckily, their attorney's charging them nothing. So if I, oh good. Sorry, the other thing I wanted to show you is that you actually, let's say somebody's got an offer that they are considering. I could actually put in 3 different sales prices here, just so there's a bit of a comparison. Some of those won't be accurate. Some of them will calculate correctly, but things like excise tax, that won't, or revenue stamps, that won't change. But yeah, that way you can look at, okay, if you get your offer for this, here's what you are netting. Now we try to be very careful to say these are only estimates, because obviously we could have a mathematical error in there, or really be calculating or for leaving out something that's really important the closing attorney would say. So I'm pretty careful just to say, hey, by the way, this is just an estimate, but it's usually pretty spot on once you start to do this. And this will help you as well, if you do this, even for your own purposes, to get really familiar with what closing sheets are going to look like, what the costs are on a closing sheet. Today, I actually just had the question or the request that we do a class on closing disclosures or settlement statements. So that could be a fun one. But anyway, this is kind of a neat, we call it a seller net sheet. It doesn't save in here. You would tend to just save this on your computer. I wish it did. I've searched for these several times and said, wow, I wish I'd kept that one. So that's kind of a cool one. Mine, again, is customized. I've gone in and put a banner in my profile. So anything I send out has some custom info. So that's just good to note.
Where's the Weaverville office located?
Sorry, I was having a tickle there. Where is it located? Is that what you said? Yeah. Yep. Right on Main Street, right beside Blue Mountain Pizza.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, just follow follow the nose to the pizza
I'm not
place?
too far from there.
Oh, cool. Good. Well, you'll have to stop in now that I have seen you here. You stop in and say hello. All right. You also, buyer's closing costs. I actually don't do a whole lot with this because you get can get a little sticky because you're moving over into lending information. And there's just so much that we probably could get ourselves in some trouble there. So it's here if you want to try and add some of that.
That's
Play around with it.
I'm actually like my minor is finance. I'm business law. Like so specifically contracts is my major with the minor of finance. So like I'm a numbers guy. Like this.
So send all your requests for buyer's closing costs worksheets over to Ethan and he will handle them for you. No, I mean, it is interesting that, you know, skill wise, it could be done. But when we're giving some estimations like this, now I have a lot of people want to know what are my estimated closing costs, but lenders' costs can vary so widely that unless we're really talking one-on-one with the lender and knowing exactly what kind of program they are, it can be a shocker for buyers. So I would say be cautious with it. It's easy for you to give things like, you know, you can figure up the property taxes and how much they're going to be liable for at closing. Maybe their homeowner's insurance, if you know all that information. But anyway, in the finance section, you can do some of that. I think, shoot, I hit the wrong button there. So this is kind of an interesting piece. Let's say that your client is asking you some information or for some information. You could pull this up. You're in a conversation, especially you numbers people. You could pull this up and say, well, you know, let me do some calculations here for you. And you can have some comparisons. So you would probably love some of this, Ethan. I never open it. Much more a wordy person than a numbers person. All right, so add edit is where you are gonna, if you were adding a new listing, that's really the only time that you're gonna use this. So, and that is a class all in itself as well. Market reports, this is where you can tool around with and just get some information there. And then we'll kind of wind this down so that there's a break. I don't know, Alex is probably hearing, but I don't know. I don't think there's anybody after me. Maybe there is. But Ethan, I've talked your head to death. That's for sure. You've done a great job. But I will point out the resources page here. This is where often you can find, so you were asking for, I always have to really dig into this, but where you might send a request or the help desk, you're going to find that in here, Matrix Help. There's some videos. I know I've seen it on here, but I think it's up in, I don't know, somewhere up in here. All right, so yeah, if you get stuck, the Matrix Help is fine as far as finding some videos or how-to PDFs, I think are in there. You've got connections back to some of the Realtor Association tools. Showing time is here. Showing time is actually how you schedule homes. If you're a listing agent, how you arrange for your clients to be notified that somebody wants to see their home. So that link is here. Sentry Lock is our lock boxes that we use. Zip forms, that's kind of interesting because when we have anybody that has any issues, if something were down with DocuSign, Zip forms is good. It's good to know where to find that. Everybody has, if you're part of the National Association of Realtors, you have an account for zip forms so that you can get all the related documents, especially in a pinch. Some people always use that to provide their forms. We, like I said yesterday, recommend DocuSign because that's where most of our internally updated forms will be. But if you were ever locked out, it's good to know that Zip Forms is a place you can go. And these are just great places to check out. One thing I was going to show you over, I can tell I've been talking for too long because I'm just like staring at this screen. All right, let's get somewhere with it. I clicked on Canopy MLS Forms under that heading, and I like to show you this because they can be helpful if you plan to do get some listings going. You're not sure all the information that you're going to need to gather in order to input this to the system. That was a single family input listing form. So it's a 9-page, this will be so simple, 9 pages for your information that they're going to be asking for. But really what this is it's almost like a picture of the input forms, the online forms that you'll actually be creating. Now, the reason they have this on here is because MLS will actually add listings for you for a fee. I think it's like $30. We also have our contract to close, a special person who can really do this. Her team at Closed Simply, Closing Simplified. Sorry, I do that always backwards. They will also input listings. So if we encourage you as new agents to know how to do this, it is pretty important because this helps you to know what information to be looking for, talking with your client about. But there are ways to do this and really leverage your time without typing. So Ethan, if you're much more about calculating your income than data input for listings, that's a good plan. Count dollars, not keystrokes. But the other reason that I like to show you this is because these first couple pages, maybe you'll use them, maybe you won't. But if you're actually at the house, there's a lot of information, a lot of note taking, things that you might need to take note of or make note of. And it's easy to forget. So if you go ahead, at least for the first listings, and print out some of these pages that will be important to you, it'll trigger you just not to forget, oh, I need to pay attention, to what's happening in the basement, or I need to find out what year this home was built per the seller, make sure there's no discrepancy. And then the other thing would be, let's get past all of this. This is where it gets really helpful. If there are specific features at a home, you literally could just, and this would be one of the sheets that I would say print out, so that you can just check, gosh, do they have a hot tub, or is this creek front? That's going to help you so much when you're inputting the listing. So it's probably this page 6, 7, 8, and 9. Same kind of thing with what type of heating system do they have. I can't tell you how many times I've gotten away and said, wow, no idea what kind of heating system they have. I'm kidding. I always know that. Thank you. Thanks. I'll be here all week, right? Yeah, so this is a good form to help you get started. I'm trying to think if there are some others. If you have to do any kind of transfer, any particular MLS forms, this is where you would find them, in the membership section. And for anyone who might be having what we would call like a pocket listing or a firm exclusive listing, kind of interesting. I don't know how long this has been on here, because I feel like this is a new a new form that they've added. So anyway, if there's something that's not hitting the MLS, as a listing agent, you actually have to notify MLS of that and actually get your client's permission. We don't really see that a lot unless it's a privacy issue. They just don't want it publicly marketed. But just know that. Sorry, I've talked way too long now. And the other thing is to know is that if you are a listing agent, that you have now 24 hours to get a property into MLS. So once you've listed and it's a live property, then yeah, you are pretty required to get right in there, get the listing up. And that can be quite tricky. That's where some of that contract to close could come in to help. So, all right, Ethan, fire away at the questions.
I don't have any. You've explained it fairly well, which the fact that I don't have questions means I understood it. So
I love that. This has been a very successful week as far as questions goes. I do think that Tila is coming up next. I assume it is you, Tila, and you may not quite be ready, so that's okay.
Yeah. Sean is actually going to join you here in just a few minutes.
That's perfect, because you know what, Ethan, do you need a break?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I always give him a break before I get started.
Oh, good, because I have been. It's just, yeah, and I've been talking at him for so long that. Good luck. He is now talked to death.
Well, good. Well, we'll thrill him with some really interesting mortgage conversation. So hang on to your hat, Ethan.
I'm excited.
All right. Good to see you, Ethan. Just Sean will probably be here in about 10 minutes. So I usually poke in here early just to see what everybody's doing. But if you want to take maybe a 10-minute break, Sean and I'll come find you. Okay.
All right.
Ethan,
right.
thanks. It's been fun hanging with you this afternoon.
Thank you.
Bye, Maria. Good to see you.
Bye. It's good to see you. Alex may make you the host. I haven't had any trouble screen sharing though, so.
Oh yeah. Okay. Is Alex sitting in here hiding?
She is had all this riveting conversation.
Okay. She just texted me a second ago, so I'll text her and have her cue us up.
Cool. All right. It's good to see you.
Cody, what are you doing? What is that? Cody, what are you doing? What is that? I'm going to turn my volume up. Sean, you want to lead us off here?
Ethan, my name's Sean.
Nice to meet you, Sean.
Nice to meet you too. All right, so you're new with Keller Williams, right?
I am.
Are you new to real estate altogether?
Yeah, I mean, new to having my license. My mom had her license, me growing up. So, I mean, I've been with it my whole life. So, yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, that's good. You got a leg up then. Who's your mom? Do we know her?
Natalie Kramer. She started with Keller Williams.
Yeah.
Only did like 6-7 months of that, then went to Asheville Realty Group, and now she's with Nest on Merriman.
Yep.
Yeah. Awesome.
I know that name. I don't know that I could pick her out of a crowd, but I know the name. Well, cool. Well, Tila and I work for Movement Mortgage. We're your in-house mortgage lender. So in precedented times, we're like right down the hall in the main office over there on Cox Avenue or on Ashland Avenue, across from Highwire main office. But you don't have to use us. We're in-house. We're good. You'll learn, that you want to use us because we're, good communication, good products. The next slide that we've got here kind of speaks to that. That's Movement Mortgage's market share in Buncombe County. That's in the Asheville MSA. So as you can see, we've got #1 market share, and it's been like that for many years. I don't know, 4, 5, 6 years, something like that. So we know what we're doing. We're good at it. We deal with a lot of the Keller Williams folks. And, why is that important to you that we have #1 market share? Well, if you think about it, and if you're writing an offer on a home, the realtor that's on the receiving end of that offer and is evaluating, 4 or 5 offers, maybe first day it hits the market, not uncommon whatsoever. If they see that your buyer has a pre-approval letter from Movement Mortgage, they know who we are, and they know that we mean business and that we'll get it done, and it'll go smoothly. You'll notice on the next line, State Employees Credit Union. It's a great bank. They do good work and stuff. But as you can see in the government loan column, they don't do government loans. So we're able to do VA loans, FHA loans, USDA loans, which may not mean a lot to you right now as you're, kind of getting into this, but it's very important to be able to have all those tools in your toolkit. Tila, you want to take the next couple?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Let me get rid of my operating system here, that it should not be shared. All right. Is that Life of a Loan showing, Ethan?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right. So we have a really snazzy marketing department. And we just wanted to show a quick video of kind of the life of a loan at Movement Mortgage and how it is maybe perhaps different at other lenders. So this is the first video link I've ever embedded in a PowerPoint presentation. So everyone hold your breath, please. Oh, look at that.
Yay.
Is the right thing shared?
Yeah, it pulled up like a website. I guess you just have to click on play.
Cool. Awesome.
Interesting. Becoming a homeowner. That's the American dream, right? Whether it's later, there's a chance it's in your future. For Eric and Violet, it's definitely now. Their studio apartment and are looking for a place with a few more windows. So they did the usual looking around online and came across something not so usual. Enter Movement Mortgage. Most people know the mortgage process can be overwhelming, to say the least. But Movement has developed a system that is changing the industry as we know it. To do this, you need one-of-a-kind people. Take Kirsten, for example.
Kirstyn.
She happens to know all about
South Carolina Ops Coordinator.
this innovative process.
So we try to make it easy as possible for borrowers to fill out the loan application. So they can go to our website, and on there we have what we call our Easy app, which allows us to collect all the financial data needed for approval. They can then connect their bank accounts, pull statements, sync online tax software, and that really jumpstarts our 671 process, which is our 6-hour underwriting right, 7-day to process, 1 day to close.
Interesting. 6-hour underwriting, 7-day process, 1 day to close. Those are some fancy terms, but what do they really mean? Let's begin with what happens up front. Underwriting. Yes, underwriting. What is that?
So I get that question all the time. What do you do? What does an underwriter do? An underwriter reviews documentation, which would be based off of main things: collateral, credit, income, and assets. And our goal is to basically analyze to see, is this person creditworthy?
They know the guidelines, they know the ins and outs of what's required for each loan program, and they get to say, here's what we can do with this, and everything looks good, and you have our stamp of approval as a company, and you've got a financial picture that allows somebody to have their home. The great thing about that is that it happens first, and when the underwriter does this initial review, they have a goal of pre-approving the file within the first 6 hours. Now our future homeowners can shop for a home knowing exactly what they are approved for. Next, the underwriter makes a list of conditions or items the file needs before it can be fully approved. Then it's sent immediately to,
It's just rolling. Okay, cool.
a processor.
Basically, as a processor, we take
My favorite part.
application after it's passed through underwriting. We take the condition sheet that the underwriter has provided us, and we can fulfill those conditions.
It's constantly being on the phone, following up with people, sometimes even reaching out to the borrower themselves.
We're usually looking for income documentation, contracts. They're going to reach out to the employer, banks,
A lot of it's just credit reports.
tax return, addendums, instead, homeowners insurance. Our goal at Movement is for the processor to complete everything within 7 business days.
Now, while it's just a goal, sticking to this 7-day process is part of Movement's DNA.
I think what sets us apart from our peers in the industry is we're the only ones that really try. You know, we actually have the goal.
Once the processor has fulfilled the conditions set by the underwriter, they send it back to the underwriter for the clear to close. All right, so at this point, the file has been approved, processed, and is ready to go into closing. But let's not forget about quality control. Movement has an entire department dedicated to ensuring information is accurate. Another thing, they have dedicated teams that handle every part of the loan, all in the same place.
It's a very integrated system. You know, we sit close to the processors, we sit close to the closers, we sit close to everybody. So if we have issues, we can literally stand up and walk 15, 20 feet in some cases to go get it resolved usually. It's just a lot easier to get things done when you're allowed to just go talk to people.
When it comes to the mortgage industry, all roads lead to closing. The moment when all the hard work of operations falls into the lap of a closer, who in just 24 hours assembles what's called a closing package, which basically looks like,
You ever bought a house? Oh, you never bought a home? Okay, it should be about that thick, full of docs.
docs that until now have been a series of files and virtual data worked on and shared between various people and various departments. You see, when the closer's job is done, we have a loan ready to go straight to the closing table, where it will be joined with, yes, the borrower.
You know, they say there's a lot of little details that happen in the mortgage process, a lot of in-betweens, a lot of sign on the dotted line. But this is the moment that really is going to get them in the front door of their new home.
Which brings us back to Eric and Violet. What they wanted was a home. And they found a team of people who helped make the dream come true. A team of people who cared enough to make sure the loan was right. Fast enough that the couple could make an offering as soon as they found what they were looking for. Their very own home. Sweet home.
All right. It just dawned on me, Sean, that all of those people, all of those employees highlighted in that video, even all the people in the background, have been working from home since
I know, it's crazy.
like the middle of March.
Yeah.
And the show has continued. So Ethan, we wanted to not bog you down with tons of information, but just kind of, hey, how are you? Introduction, who is Movement Mortgage? And then kind of lean into a quick rundown of programs that we offer. So the next 2 slides are a collection of the programs that we do offer currently. It's a little bit blurry in this, and we're gonna email out some PDFs to you guys after this call today so that everybody has some extra materials in hand. But we offer all the traditional conventional mortgages. We offer a couple of renovation programs right now as well. All the government stuff, FHA, VA, and USDA. And we've also recently re-rolled back out our jumbo programs. A lot of lenders across the country got rid of their jumbo about the time COVID seemed to be getting pretty serious, maybe April or May, and folks started losing jobs and stuff like that. So let's see. So we can answer any questions you have on these particular loan programs. We traditionally have been a part of the Ignite program that happens every couple of months, and done some deep dives into loan programs and, you know, a more in-depth Mortgage 101 class. But feel free to reach out to Sean or I if you have any questions on anything of that nature right now. We're going to email this next slide out as well. This is a really handy agent qualification guide. I would keep this on your desk. I would keep it on your desktop, on your computer, and refer back to it. When you're talking to new buyers, you know, a lot of folks will say, oh, I can't buy a house. I had a foreclosure 8 years ago. And as you can see on this, this grid, they do actually qualify for, you know, a home purchase if they've had certain credit events, or, you know, certain credit scores or anything of that nature. This is kind of helps you from the front end get an idea whether or not you have a qualifying buyer before you start working with them and send them off to a mortgage lender to get pre-qualified. So we'll send that out as well, so you've got a copy of it. Sean touched on this pretty briefly about communication earlier in his introduction. Really, communication is key in any real estate transaction, whether there's a lender or not a lender. But these are just the stress-free three that we like to touch on. You know, contract stuff that we'll need initially, good questions to ask. Is the property in a flood zone, HOA, POA? Are you ordering the correct inspections? And have you set up closing and sent a copy of the contract over to the title company or the attorney? We have, and I don't know that I put it in the slides, an inspection, kind of, what would you call that, Sean? Like an inspection?
Like a grid?
Yeah, it's another grid, but it's kind of a help sheet. If you're doing an FHA loan, if your buyer is doing an FHA loan, these are the kind of inspections that you need. If they're doing a conventional loan, these are the kind of inspections you should need. So we'll send a copy of that out as well with our little movement packet that we send out. What else, Sean? I think that's the end of our presentation.
Yeah, Ethan, you've got it all to yourself. There's usually about 10 or 12 people in the class. I guess there's another class going on right now, perhaps.
I think everybody else has like full-time jobs.
Oh, I get it.
Yeah. Like I think one person is a teacher.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I forgot the other people. I'm the only person, like, I don't have a current full-time job.
Yeah.
I mean, I do, but it's paused. I used to work on cruise ships.
Oh, really?
Oh, okay. Well, yeah. So you don't have a job.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Wow.
Which, what did you do on cruise ships?
I was youth staff and entertainment on Royal Caribbean cruise lines.
Oh, no. What a fun job. That sounds awesome.
Yeah, I loved it. Yeah. Like my dad's company he owns has been doing business with Royal Caribbean since like 1996. So I've been cruising with them my whole life. And
wow.
my older sisters, they all did it for like 2 years. So that's what I did. I did for a year and a half.
What's going to happen to the cruise line industry?
So actually yesterday Royal Caribbean did their first sailing out of Singapore on Quantum.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. But most likely not until there's a lot of like vaccines will they start up in the US.
Yeah. Okay. Well, hopefully that'll be soon. So what are your real estate plans? Are you just going to get licensed and then work with anybody that you can? Or are you going to join a team? Or are you going to work with buyers or sellers?
I'm still figuring it out. So my mom's a real estate agent, so I've been doing a couple things with her. She's not with Keller Williams. She's with Nest, but I've been doing things with her. I'm currently working on a house with her in South Cliff. So that just went under contract. Good. So yeah.
That's great.
Learn as you go. That's helpful. Well, Sean had, I think, prepared a really fun game.
No, I mean, not really.
We'll save it for the next one. We'll save it for the next one. But Ethan, this is for you, and of course the call's being recorded, so anybody that goes to watch it. There are 3 loan officers with Movement Mortgage that cover the Keller Williams professional downtown offices at both locations. Sean and I are in the, I don't even remember our address there. I haven't been so long. Is it 86?
86 Ashland,
86
and then there's 53.
Ashland. And then Missy Baker is at, what's the other,
53?
53. Okay, Missy's at the other location. When we send, I'll do like a post-class email to blast to everybody that's, has all of our contact information. I'm going to probably jam it with maybe 5 or 6 PDFs with, helpful materials as folks are getting started. And then, of course, like I said, our contact information. We're, in theory, right down the hall from you guys. If you need us, while we aren't in the building per se, we are still right down the hall from you. We are a phone call. We are an email away. Most of us work 7 days a week and nights and weekends. So if at any point you have any mortgage related questions, you are listing a property where you're accepting offers for mortgage loans that you don't understand or you have questions about, if you have buyers that need to be pre-qualified, please reach out to us. We want to be a great resource for you and want to help you be successful and grow your business and form a partnership. And at the end of the day, if we become friends doing that, we like that as well. So Ethan, if you need us, holler at us. Anybody else that is watching this later on, feel free to reach out to us and we'll hit you with a couple emails later on this afternoon. Sean, do you have anything else you want to add?
No, like you said, we're just a phone call away. Let us, you can't call too many times and no questions, too trivial. Yeah. Just call anytime.
I am going to text Alex and see who is after us. And that's it.
I think it's the warranty.
Oh, is she coming? 210?
Usually. They're usually right after us.
Okay. All right. So Ethan, how's your South Cliff transaction going so far?
It's good. I have the inspection on Monday. So.
Are you like co-brokering it with your mom?
So I don't have full MLS access yet, so not officially, but pretty much.
But you're there sailing the boat with her and getting all the experience. Awesome. That's great. How'd your inspections go?
Sorry, what?
How'd your inspections go?
It's on Monday coming up.
This Monday. Okay.
Next Monday. Yeah.
All right. All right, I'm going to stop my share. Sean, I'm going to go to the calendar. Ethan, do you know who's on the docket? Is it 210?
I have no idea, to be honest.
What is this called?
Well, we appreciate you being on, Ethan.
Yeah.
Oh, of course.
Good stuff. Good to meet you. We look forward to seeing you.
Oh yeah. Sorry, I'm like down below. I had to sprint to my apartment. So I live in Asheville, but I also have an apartment in Charlotte because I stayed here for a couple months. And a pipe burst yesterday.
Oh man!
When I was in Asheville, yeah. Apparently, it was in the townhome next to us, so it didn't it only got in our garage, so not much. So I had to come sprint up here.
Oh, yeah. No worries.
So I have like no desk. It's literally like sitting on my dresser, and I'm sitting on my bed.
Well, I snuck into the Hendersonville office
Mhm.
today for this, so I don't normally look this put together and professional. I usually have a toddler screaming behind me running and 2 dogs and a makeshift office at home as well. Okay, so Courtney Guest is next, and so I will hang out here until she arrives, and I'll get Alex to make her an admin or a host.
Well, Tila, I'm going to jump off.
Yeah, okay.
Got a couple fires. It's good to see you. Ethan, nice to meet you.
Thank
Take
you.
care.
Nice to meet you.
Bye, Sean. See ya.
Bye.